Ethan's eyes flicked to mine, his grip tightening on his glass. Nolan leaned in, a slow, knowing smirk playing on his lips. The air between us was thick, charged with something unspoken. A choice lingered in the space between us, and I was ready to make it. Before we dive in, take a moment to like this video and subscribe. It only takes a second, but it makes a huge difference and ensures you won't miss what's coming next. Now let's begin. I won't lie, I've been aching for it. Too many nights alone. Too many mornings untouched. My husband has been gone for months, and at first I thought I could handle it. I was wrong. A woman has needs. And mine? They're burning. Twisting inside me. Getting worse every damn day. I wake up restless, skin tingling, thighs clenching, burning with need before I even open my eyes. I need more than my own hands. I need to be wanted, claimed. And lately, I know exactly who I want. Ethan, older, strong, my neighbor for years. Quiet, controlled, the kind of man who should know how to take what he wants, but he doesn't. Nolan, restless, cocky, eager. His friend's son, crashing with Ethan for a while. He watches me, waiting for a moment, or maybe just for permission. I don't want subtle. I want hands on me, mouths on me, bodies pressing me down until I can't think. I take a slow sip of my drink, the condensation slick between my fingers. Ethan is focused, Nolan is restless, and me? I'm ready to stop pretending. No more waiting. I never liked playing games. Some women flirt in passing, drop hints, wait to be pursued. Not me. I see what I want, and I go after it. So when Ethan wiped the sweat from his brow, muscles flexing under his shirt, I didn't just watch. I gave him something to look at. I stepped off the porch, my dress swaying just enough to tease the shape of my body. The sun was hot, and I let it kiss my skin, making me glow. Ethan glanced up as I approached, dragging a hand through his hair. Hard at work? I mused, stopping just close enough for him to feel my presence. He nodded, wiping his hands on a rag, just keeping busy. I tilted my head, dragging my gaze over him, slow and deliberate. Let him feel it. You do a good job keeping things in shape. Strong hands, steady work. Ethan cleared his throat, shifting on his feet. Well, someone has to. Careful. Guarded. He was keeping a distance, but his eyes were betraying him. I took a step closer, trailing a fingertip along his arm, barely touching, watching his reaction. Bet they'd feel even better on something softer than car parts. His breath caught. Just for a second, his fingers twitched like he wanted to grab me to pull me in, but nothing. He swallowed. You need something fixed? I almost laughed. Fixed? I needed something broken, shattered, ruined. I let my fingers drag across his stomach, slow and deliberate, waiting to see if he'd stop me. He didn't, but he didn't take the bait either. My patience had limits. Then just as I turned away, I felt eyes on me. Nolan was watching. Nolan didn't even try to hide it. The way he looked at me, hungry, eager, ready to do whatever I wanted. He wasn't like Ethan, holding back, pretending he didn't notice. He noticed, and the moment my attention turned to him, he smirked, like he knew exactly what I was doing. Nice work out there, I said, stepping closer. Close enough for him to smell my perfume. Close enough for him to want more. Nolan leaned against the truck, arms crossed over his chest, sweat glistening along his collarbone. Nice view from here, too. Bold. I like that. I let my eyes drag over him, slow and deliberate, giving him the same treatment I gave Ethan. Only this time I wasn't testing. I was rewarding. Confident, aren't you? Nolan grinned, tilting his head. Why wouldn't I be? Oh, I was going to have fun with him. I reached out, letting my fingers skim his forearm. Barely there. His skin was warm, his pulse just a little too fast. I like confidence. Nolan inhaled, sharp but subtle. Good. I've got plenty. Ethan was still working, pretending not to hear, but I saw the way his shoulders tensed, how he glanced up for half a second before looking away. He was listening, and that only made me bolder. I leaned in just enough to let my breath graze Nolan's ear. How about a drink? My place? His smirk deepened, eyes flicking to my lips, then down my body before locking back onto mine. Thought you'd never ask. From the corner of my eye, I saw Ethan pause, just for a second, his body tense, his jaw tight. Guess that means I won't be getting that drink, he muttered. I turned to him, smiling, letting the silence stretch just long enough to make him wonder. Didn't think you were interested, I said smoothly, then let my lips curve slightly. But you're more than welcome to join. Ethan didn't answer right away. His fingers flexed at his sides, hesitation flickering in his eyes. I held his gaze for a second longer, then turned back to Nolan. If Ethan wanted me, he was going to have to act like it. And with that, I led Nolan inside. Ethan followed. He didn't say a word, just set his tools down and walked toward the house. No hesitation this time. Nolan shot me a knowing look as we stepped inside, and I couldn't help but smile. He thought he had this figured out. Thought he knew exactly how the night would unfold. He wasn't wrong. The air was thick, charged, the tension nearly buzzing between us. I didn't rush. I wanted to feel it stretch. Let them feel it too. Whiskey? Beer? I asked as I reached for the cabinet. Nolan leaned against the counter, his smirk lazy. Whatever you're having. Ethan shifted, arms crossed over his chest, still holding back. Same. I poured the drinks, the sound of ice cracking against the glass, breaking the quiet. I took my time passing them theirs, my fingers brushing against Nolan's hand, then Ethan's, testing, watching, feeling the anticipation coil tighter. Nolan wasted no time getting comfortable, settling onto the couch like he belonged there. Ethan stayed standing, fingers flexing around his glass, his jaw tight. I sat between them, crossing my legs, letting the fabric of my dress slide higher over my thighs. Well, I murmured, taking a slow sip. This is cozy. Nolan chuckled. Didn't think you were inviting us in for just a drink? I turned my gaze to him, slow, deliberate. Did you think I was inviting you in for nothing? His smirk deepened, his fingers tapping against the arm of the couch. Didn't seem like the type to waste time. I leaned in slightly, just enough to feel the heat between us. I'm not. Ethan exhaled hard, shifting in his seat. He was still fighting it, still gripping onto whatever restraint he thought he had left. But I saw it. The way his breathing had changed. The way his hand twitched like he wanted to reach for me. I turned to him, running my nails lightly along the glass in my lap. You're awfully quiet. His throat bobbed, just taking it in. Nolan scoffed. Yeah, and what do you think? Ethan hesitated, his fingers tightening around his drink. But he didn't answer. So I made the decision for him. I took Nolan's glass from his hand, setting it on the table beside mine. His eyes flickered with something darker, something heavier, but he didn't move. He was waiting. I wasn't. I leaned in, closing the space between us, my breath warm against his lips before I finally took what I wanted. The moment our lips met, he responded, hands on my waist, fingers pressing into my skin, pulling me closer. His kiss was eager, deep, his body taut with restrained energy, like he'd been waiting for this just as much as I had. And from the corner of my eye, I saw Ethan, watching, wanting. I pulled back just enough to glance at him, my lips tingling, my breath still shallow. He didn't move, but he didn't leave either. I wasn't letting Ethan hold back anymore. I pulled him into a deep kiss, my fingers threading through his hair, guiding him deeper. He let me take control, gripping my waist, responding to me like he had been holding back for far too long. Behind me, I could feel Nolan, his breath uneven, his energy restless. He wasn't just watching anymore. He was waiting for permission. I reached for him, my fingers curling into his shirt, tugging him closer until I felt the warmth of his body against mine. Nolan exhaled sharply. His hands settled at my hips, exploring, his fingers tracing the curve of my waist, following the outline of my dress. I turned slightly, smirking. "Don't just stand there." That was all the encouragement he needed. He tilted his head, smirking. "Don't just stand there." That was all the encouragement he needed. He tilted his head, his lips grazing my neck, slow, teasing. His hand slid lower, bolder now, making my breath hitch. But I had other plans. I slid my fingers into his hair, guiding him downward, directing him exactly where I wanted him. Nolan groaned against my skin, his hands spreading over my thighs as he settled between them. A soft exhale left my lips as warmth flooded through me, my body humming at the anticipation of what was next. Ethan watched, his restraint slipping, his grip tightening at my sides. "Jealous?" I teased, tilting my head to him, his jaw tensed. "You have no idea." I hummed, trailing my fingers down his chest, feeling the heat radiating from him. His hands twitched at his sides, his patience wearing thin. I worked open his belt, letting my touch linger, feeling the weight of his breath as he exhaled sharply. Ethan shuddered under my fingertips, his body tense, his hands gripping my hips, holding me steady. I leaned down, trailing my lips over him, slow, teasing, savoring every reaction, every sharp intake of breath. Nolan's fingers dug into my thighs, his grip possessive, his pace growing more determined, more confident. Between them, I was caught in the center of it all, finally having exactly what I'd been craving. Ethan let out a low groan, his muscles tightening beneath my touch. I pulled back just enough to meet his gaze, my lips curving in satisfaction. "Give in to me," I whispered. And he did. His fingers tangled in my hair, his breath ragged, his restraint slipping completely. Nolan wasn't holding back anymore either. His hands tightened, his pace more insistent, his movements more certain. It was intoxicating. It was overwhelming. And still, I needed more. I pulled away, my lips swollen, my breath uneven, heat pulsing through every inch of me. "Get on the couch," I ordered, my voice breathless but firm. My breath uneven, heat pulsing through every inch of me. "Get on the couch," I ordered, my voice breathless but firm. Ethan hesitated for only a second before obeying. He leaned back, his chest rising and falling rapidly, his hands twitching like he was waiting for me to make the next move. I straddled him, pressing my body against his, my fingers tracing along his jaw, my lips grazing his ear. "No more waiting," I murmured. His fingers dug into my hips as I moved, setting the rhythm, taking exactly what I wanted from him, from both of them. Nolan's hands slid up my back, his warmth pressing in behind me, his movements perfectly in sync with mine. Ethan groaned beneath me, his grip tightening, his patience completely gone now. The intensity grew between us, the connection tightening, every movement more electric. But I wanted everything. I shifted, pressing my hands against the couch, arching my back, guiding Nolan in front of me while Ethan steadied himself behind me. Nolan's fingers slid through my hair as I pulled him closer, tasting him, savoring every reaction, every breath. Ethan's hands spread over my hips, holding me steady, his movements deliberate, controlled, deepening the connection between us. Every touch, every motion sent pleasure rippling through me. Their hands guided me, but I was the one leading, setting the pace, demanding more, chasing the edge that felt just within reach. The heat built between us, the rhythm sharpening, deepening, every moment drawing us closer, the tension unbearable, pushing us higher. Ethan's hands held me steady, his voice rough, husky. "You feel incredible." Nolan let out a shaky breath, his head tilting back, completely lost in the moment. I didn't want it to end, not yet. I wanted to stay in this feeling, this electricity, this raw, burning pleasure that flooded through every inch of me. But the moment couldn't last forever. The tension finally reached its peak, the energy overwhelming. It washed over me, consuming every inch of me, warmth spreading through every nerve, my breath breaking in short, shaky gasps, my body trembling as I held on to them, sinking deeper into the overwhelming heat of it all. The room was filled with the sounds of unsteady breaths, the lingering heat of bodies tangled together, the quiet aftermath of something utterly consuming. For a long moment, none of us moved. The air was thick, charged, the weight of the moment settling between us. I collapsed onto the couch, stretching lazily, satisfaction humming beneath my skin. Ethan let out a low chuckle, dragging a hand through his damp hair. Nolan exhaled, still catching his breath. Holy. He stopped himself, shaking his head with a breathless laugh. I smirked, looking between them, fully pleased, fully sated. They thought they had been in control. But this had always been my game. The next morning, I woke up feeling different. Not just satisfied, but renewed. The ache that had been twisting inside me for months, that unbearable hunger. I had finally fulfilled it. And now that I had a taste, I wasn't about to let it go. I stretched lazily, the lingering warmth a reminder of exactly what had happened, of exactly how good it felt to finally take what I wanted. A deep chuckle rumbled beside me. Ethan, still half asleep, his arm heavy across my waist. At the edge of the bed, Nolan smirked, running a hand through his messy hair. "Morning," he murmured, eyes gleaming. "Feeling better?" I hummed, trailing my fingers over Ethan's chest, my lips curving. "For now." Nolan let out a breathless laugh. Ethan shifted beside me, tightening his grip as if he already knew what I was thinking. Because this wasn't a one-time thing. I wasn't done with them yet. Some desires should stay hidden. Or should they? Was this reckless or the best decision ever? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear what you think. And if you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.